Welcome to Anews. I'm Umar Taslim, and you're watching Turkey's Diplomacy. Israel has launched a ground offensive in Gaza, intensifying the war that has already claimed more than 64,600 Palestinian lives. The move comes as regional tensions rise after Israel's airstrike on Doha, which killed 6 Hamas members and drew global condemnation. In response, Arab and Islamic leaders met in Qatar, denounced Israel's actions as genocide, and called for urgent international measures, while U.S. officials continued balancing support for Israel with pressure to revive stalled ceasefire talks. Joining me to discuss the latest developments in the Middle East are Daily Sabah's editorial coordinator, Dr. Mehmet Çelik, and strategic affairs expert, Dr. Hamid Khan Al-Mashriqi.
Netanyahu hükümetinin esas amacının bir yandan Filistin'deki katliam ve soykırımı sürdürürken diğer yandan hiçbir ayrım yapmadan tüm bölgeyi istikrarsızlığa sürüklemek olduğu artık şüphe götürmez bir gerçektir. Karşımızda kaostan ve kandan beslenen bir terör zihniyeti ve onun vücut bulduğu bir devlet var. Birleşmiş Milletler şartını açıkça ihlal eden, uluslararası hukuka ve kural temelli uluslararası sisteme meydan okuyan bu zihniyet, işlediği suçların cezasız kalmasıyla halen ayakta kalabilmektedir. Son dönemde haddini bilmez bazı İsrailli siyasetçi müsveddelerinin Büyük İsrail hezeyanını sık sık tekrarladığını görüyoruz. İsrail'in komşu ülkelerdeki işgallerini genişletme çabaları bu hedefin somut birer tezahürüdür. İslam alemi İsrail'in bu yayılmacı emellerini boşa çıkaracak dirayete ve imkana Allah'ın izniyle sahiptir. Netanyahu katliam şebekesinin muvazeneyi kaybetmesi artık destekçileri için de maliyet oluşturmaya başladı. Katar'a yönelik pervasız saldırılar karşısında İsrail'e kayıtsız şartsız destek verenler de tepki göstermek mecburiyetinde kaldı. Bazı ülkelerin Filistin devletini tanıma niyetlerini açıklamaları da elbette olumlu bir adımdır.
Welcome back to the program. Joining us now is Dr. Mehmet, the editorial coordinator of Daily Sabah. Dr. Mehmet, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Umar.
After a very long time, we have you after a week's break, Mehmet. It's nice to have you in the studio. Dr. Mehmet, let's start with this statement given by President Erdogan. Obviously, we saw world leaders condemning Israel for its actions, not only in the occupied Gaza Strip, but also in Doha. But talk me through this terrorist mentality that Erdogan has stated. Mehmet, tell me, how are you viewing his statement?
Well, first of all, Mr. Erdogan's statement actually called for concrete action against Israeli aggression, not only towards the Palestinian-occupied territories and the ongoing genocide in Gaza, but also as a destabilizer in the region, attacking 6-7 countries within literally 2-3 days time frame. In Yemen, Tunisia, Qatar, Syria, Lebanon, and the occupied territories in Palestine. That destabilizing actions and as a destabilizer in the region, the fact that Israel sees no limits to its action, in addition to the war crimes in Gaza, in addition to the occupation in the West Bank and other parts of Palestine, attacking the neighboring region without taking into consideration that these are sovereign states. I mean, what happened in Qatar is, according to in any type of law or international law, it's unacceptable to attack a sovereign state's territory. And this is why it was condemned by international community at large, including the United States. But the Arab world and the Muslim world, what Erdogan is saying is that it should go beyond just condemnation, and action must be taken against this terrorist mentality that sees no limits to its aggression. Mr. Erdogan highlighted during his talk yesterday that Turkey has taken concrete action when it comes to cutting all the bilateral ties, trade ties, including closing the ports and closing the airspace to Israeli activity. Now, the OIC members and the Arab League members, unfortunately, have not gone beyond this condemnation phase. We should not forget when Donald Trump started his second term, he came and visited the Gulf states, and he sold them, to put it very bluntly, lots of weapons. And in addition, these were big transactions. In addition to selling them weapons, he showed the strength of relationship, political relationship between these sovereign Gulf nations and the United States. But what happened is that with the Israeli attack, it showed in a way that despite that good relationship, the United States is not protecting a state like Qatar, where there's such a great relationship between the United States and Qatar. So Israel was able to attack Qatar despite the relationship between the United States. So if there is that security protection, security guarantee between Gulf states and the United States, why is there such a solid relationship then? If the United States is not going to protect them. And this shows also that the United States has also limits when it comes to how much they can stop Netanyahu cabinet. So I think in that sense, this attack shows a failure of the international community to, when it comes to stopping Israel. It shows how imbalanced the relationship is between the United States and the Gulf countries vis-a-vis the Israeli aggression or Israel's plans for the region. It also shows that those Arab nations, as well as the Muslim world at large, have not actually taken any concrete steps, and they're not able to take any concrete action against Israeli aggression, despite the fact that Israel has been expanding its aggression in the region.
Dr. Mehmet, just hours ago, we've received information that Israel has started its occupation of Gaza City, and ground forces are there as well. They've asked hundreds of thousands of people to evacuate as well. Now, do you think that this is in response to the Arab Islamic summit that was held yesterday or the past 2 days on Sunday and Monday? Do you think this is the Israeli response by activating its ground incursions?
Well, I'm not sure if it is actually a response to that meeting in Doha that really produced no concrete results. Israeli plans are not short-term plans. They make more long-term plans, and they look at the bigger picture. So that ground incursion is, I believe, part of their already existing strategic plan in expanding the war or the genocide in Gaza and taking more land, actually, control of more land in Gaza. But ground confrontation and having tanks moving forward is not the same thing as airstrikes, because you're not really dealing with an organized military where they have an organized in the sense that you know where they're located, you know where their front line is, etc. When we're talking about an underground fighting resistance, then Israel, it will not be easy for them to move forward as quickly as possible, or as in a way that they would like to be proceeding, because Hamas's ability to counter the ground force, Israeli ground forces, Israeli military on the ground is much more significant than countering airstrikes. So we will see how that will turn out, because not only that will that affect the hostages situation, or this, how the Hamas will handle that. It will also mean that they will fight against really a shadow group that have, of course, the tunnels and you cannot pinpoint where they're exactly. So it's harder to fight in that sense for Israel. It's not like airstrikes where they go and bomb the different locations. Nevertheless, I think for both sides, this is going to be one of the determinant moments for where the war will expand. It will mean, of course, the civilians and the infrastructure and people of Gaza will be suffering more, and that will be bloody for them in that sense. But at the same time, Israel should be prepared to, or Netanyahu's cabinet should be prepared to have an answer for the hostages' families in case this also lead to a situation where it will put their lives in danger for the ones that are still alive. In addition, I think the fight between Hamas and Israeli forces will also be costly for the Israeli side as well for the ground part of this expansion of invasion.
Mehmet, Marco Rubio has arrived in Qatar. He was in Tel Aviv. He met Netanyahu. He held talks with the Israeli government as well. Now we're seeing that, even we saw over the last 2 days, that Rubio has been insistent on a ceasefire, but then he says that Hamas has a very short period of time in which to accept that ceasefire so that the hostages can be released. Now, why is he giving this ultimatum? Tell me about his visit to the Middle East. Do you think that the timing is crucial? And moreover, there's also, I can see right now that Qatar and US are also going to finalize a defense cooperation agreement. So why are these things taking place right now?
Well, of course, when it comes to the United States, there are two, I think, layers. One is the layer that is put forward in front of the cameras, a layer that shows solidarity, or at least they condemn the attack on Qatar. But at the same time, they also support the Israeli actions in Gaza. I mean, they're directly supporting militarily, economically, financially, and politically, they're supporting what Israel is doing. But on the other hand, they're saying, you attacked Qatar, we stand with Qatar, but we also allow you to do it. So there is that layer where, of course, the United States have full support of Israel, but in front of the cameras, they feel the need to show solidarity with Qatar too. So in a way, they are stuck between the two sides and these two layers. At least in the eyes of the international community, U.S. is fully supporting, but they're trying to say that we're still trying to limit Netanyahu's actions in a way, or we're trying to, we're saying, okay, we see that you are continuing a genocide, but we will have for the cameras, we will have this humanitarian fund action. We are supporting you. We're not letting you. We're not making you stop attacking the neighboring countries, including an ally like Qatar. But we're going to say that what you're doing wasn't needed, and show solidarity with Qatar. So I think there is that double-edged sword that they are handling in front of the cameras. But what not just Qatar, and even the wider region is, I think. Also, it's hard for them to make this decision. On the one side, they need the U.S. support in terms of security. On the other hand, what U.S. supports another ally of the United States, Israel, has plans to expand the war in the region. So they're stuck in between two sides. I think it's a very difficult situation to be in that sense. Qatar, not very long ago, signed deals with the United States. So this new defense cooperation, who is it going to be done against? Who is the threat in the region? What is the threat in the region for Qatar? Is it the neighboring countries? Is it Israel? Is it Iran? Is it some other force? That strengthening of defense capability for Qatar, if it is not going to be activated when Israel is attacking Qatar, then what is it? Why does it exist? So there's a lot of questions that I think the regional countries need to think about. And the only destabilizer factor is right now is the Israeli plans to expand the war regionally. So they have this position where it is hard for them to align themselves, where it is hard for them to position themselves vis-a-vis that threat. That is not stoppable because the U.S. is supporting them fully. That is not manageable because even the United States is having a hard time to control Netanyahu's actions, at least for the part that we see in front of the cameras. On the other hand, we know that Israel, the U.S. government is fully supporting Israel. So, there's this confusion, I think, in terms of positioning for the region's countries, especially countries like Qatar. They cannot cut ties with either side very, very clearly. So having that foggy atmosphere makes them puts them in a very difficult situation. Marco Rubio was showing full support for Israeli action in the between lines, but on the other hand, it is saying that we stand with Qatar. So it was damage control. He will be in Qatar also today, I believe, or if he had not gone
today,
he's arrived in Qatar, going to be there. But he should have gone to Qatar in the first place, not Israel. Qatar was attacked. Israel is the attacker. So if there was going to be the damage control, at least if they had considered sensitivity to Qatar's position, Rubio should have landed in Doha in the first place.
Mehmet, also, Rubio says that we have a very close partnership with the Qataris. If any country in the world can help mediate the ceasefire in Gaza, Qatar is the one. Do you think after everything that has happened, even though the Qatari government, Emir, everyone has said that Qatar will be involved in negotiations, Qatar will not withdraw from the ceasefire talks, how difficult will it be for Qatar when it comes to negotiating the ceasefire this time around, Mehmet?
Well, Qatar is not necessarily negotiating. Qatar is facilitating that negotiation. It's the Hamas on the one side and Israel on the other side that is negotiating, and Qatar is mediating that negotiation. And Qatar has said, despite the attack, they will continue to mediate. But from day one, when these negotiations have started, Israeli side does not want to negotiate. Israeli side does not want a ceasefire. Israeli side does not even, I think, show sensitivity to the situation of the hostages. Hence why they're not even willing to have this ceasefire happening. I think at this point, Qatar is still willing to negotiate. Even the neighboring countries like Turkey, Egypt, everybody's ready to facilitate a negotiation on some feasible terms between Hamas and the Israeli side. But unfortunately, the Israeli side has not come with acceptable terms for Hamas, at least from what we know through media or through what has been shared with the media. And also they do not stick to the conditions that are set as common ground for the ceasefire or the negotiations.
Mehmet, also, let's talk about the West Bank, because whenever we're talking about the occupied Gaza Strip, we need to talk about all the occupied Palestinian territories, and the West Bank is one of them, of course. Now, last week, Benjamin Netanyahu signed off on the even settlement plan, which aims to split West Bank into two parts. Now, these illegal settlements have been increasing. It's not just we're not just talking about the last few years. We're talking about decades. These settlements have been Israeli settlers have been taking away Palestinian lands, killing them, not caring about what's going to happen. And obviously, the United States has been supporting the Israelis when it comes to the occupation of Palestinian lands. Tell me more about this plan, Mehmet. And it's also billions of dollars are being invested in these plans as well. So, and like Erdogan also mentioned, Israel is looking towards a greater Israel, isn't it?
Well, Israel's ultimate plan is the greater Israel, that so-called promised land, and a perverse interpretation of a holy text for that the Zionist ideology has used as a blueprint for their expansion and aggression in the region. First of all, any of these so-called settlement plans we should not view them as if they are some construction projects. They are projects to dispossess Palestinians, people of those lands, from their homeland through violent action. So they're illegal when it comes to international law, when it comes to any sort of legal framework. They are not legal projects. They're illegal illegally carried out plans to confiscate by force the lands from Palestinians, to rebuild settlements for the Israelis. Now, the United Nations, EU, even the United States and the international community keeps condemning these plans since day one. The occupation didn't start in the past decade or so. It has been going on for more than 7 decades. In that sense, what Israel wants to do in the occupied territories is to de-link the Palestinians from one another. West Bank, on the one hand, now they're dividing West Bank into different parts, from East Jerusalem. Gaza is de-linked from these two parts, etc. Now, when we look at the map in 1948, it has nothing to do with the Palestinian land and the map that we see today. If that was the agreed map, what is happening right now, anything after that time is considered illegal according to international law and international legal frameworks. So that ultimate plan for Gaza and the region, there's different methods being used. On the one hand, you attack through airstrikes to Syria and Lebanon. You attack, you carry out attacks against Gaza and continue a genocide there. You continue violence through settlements and through illegal settlers and through raids in West Bank. You do different provocations in East Jerusalem and Al-Aqsa compound. All these are part of course, that, what you said as the Greater Israel plan. There are different parts of a big strategic plan that Israel wants to carry out for the region beyond even Palestinian territories. But what, in terms of the occupied territories, the plans in West Bank, East Jerusalem, Gaza, it is to de-link people from their land. So they're forced to either leave or they're left with killing, Israeli violence. So I think, all this is, the fact that all this is happening before the eyes of the international community also shows how Israel has taken international community as hostage, especially those powers who have influence over Israel. They have taken the United States hostage. The United States' ability to stop this genocide, to stop the violence, is clearly there. I mean, Hamas didn't exist in 1948, but still, over 7 decades ago, that violence was there. If we're talking about the war, even if Hamas is not there today, and that's for Palestinians to decide, let's eliminate Hamas from the picture, and let's talk about the rest of Palestine. I mean, Hamas is not in West Bank, but that occupation is still in the West Bank.
And Mehmet, it's very clear, the intentions are clear, because Netanyahu said that there will be no Palestinian state. No matter how many countries are going to recognize the state of Palestine at the UNGA, it's very clear. He has said it on multiple occasions. Well,
I think that has been the idea from day one. This is why the expansion keeps happening. If there was an agreement, or if there was a plan to somehow accept a Palestinian state as a neighboring country, then at some point their aim would have been limited to Palestinian, or to eliminating, let's say, Hamas, or to territorially expanding and stopping at a certain place. There would be some clear plan showing what their ultimate aim is in agreeing with the Palestinians. There is no plan that shows that they want to agree with Palestinians and respecting Palestinians as a people in their homes. The aim is to eliminate any Palestinians left in the occupied territories. They're not rushed in that sense. Today it's Gaza, tomorrow maybe it will be West Bank. in the sense that regardless of how much, at least, regardless of different characteristics between Hamas and the Mahmoud Abbas, let's say, or the Palestinian Authority, they're still carrying out the same plan against two different approaches in the Palestinian resistance.
Mehmet, thank you so much for that analysis. We'll be right back with you.
Thank you.
Israel's recent airstrike in Qatar has heightened tensions with Arab states, drawing criticism over the targeting of Hamas leaders and putting renewed strain on fragile diplomatic relations established through the Abraham Accords.
Israel's bombing of Qatar last week angered Arab states, who met in Doha to show a united front. The strike, an attempt to kill the political leaders of the Palestinian Hamas group, opened another chapter in a history of fractious regional ties since Israel's creation in 1948. Here's how that tense relationship has played out for some major Arab countries. Israel's Qatar strike shone a spotlight on the Abraham Accords, signed during US President Donald Trump's first term. These normalized diplomatic relations between Israel and Arab signatories. Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates signed first in 2020, a deal brokered by Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. They broke a taboo to become the first Arab states to recognize Israel in a quarter century. Morocco and Sudan followed suit. Israel and the UAE have since developed close economic and security ties and a free trade pact. But they've been strained over Israel's war in Gaza, which was started after Hamas launched a deadly attack across the border in 2023. Israel has since been widely accused of committing genocide against the Palestinians and has accelerated settlement building. Public opinion in the Arab world has grown angrier. These factors can't be ignored by the biggest prize in Israel's sights: rich regional powerhouse Saudi Arabia. In February, Riyadh said it would not establish ties with Israel without a path to the creation of a Palestinian state. Historically, Egypt struck the first Arab peace treaty with Israel in 1978 at Camp David. The two countries had fought wars in 1948, 56, 67 and 73. Egyptian President Anwar Sadat, who agreed the deal, was assassinated 3 years later, and the treaty remains deeply unpopular among Egyptians. Israel and Egypt cooperate on oil and gas, but little else. Israeli and US suggestions that Gaza's population should be partially resettled in Egypt's Sinai angered Cairo. Jordan was the second Arab state to make peace with Israel in 1994. By some estimates, more than half the country's population is Palestinian, many descended from refugees. Jordan controlled the West Bank and East Jerusalem from 1948 until Israel captured and occupied the Palestinian territories in the 1967 war. For Jordan and Egypt, the peace deals are central to security, foreign policy and their ties with the United States. However, anger over Israel's treatment of Palestinians is widespread.
Welcome back to the program. Joining us now from the Pakistani capital is political analyst Hamid Khan Al-Mashriqi. Dr. Hamid, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Umar. It's my pleasure.
Dr. Hamid, I'm going to ask you about the Arab Islamic Summit that was held yesterday. Now, you're someone who speaks fluent Arabic, who understands the language perfectly. How are you looking at this response from Arab and Islamic leaders from yesterday's summit in the Qatari capital?
Yeah, thank you very much, Umar. Yes, I mean, I would say there is a great aggression we can see and sense of very much upset and stress by the Arab leaders during their speeches. And it is very notable that all Arab leaders and non-Arab leaders were also talking about the long-standing issue of Palestine and the aggression by the Israel. And I would say that now by attacking and bombing on Doha, there was no country is safe in the region from aggression and unprovoked attack by Israel. So there is a need of a joint strategy. This is what the whole Arab countries and the Muslim world leaders are emphasizing now, that there is now we have come to that point where we cannot rely on American security guarantees or on the guarantees by the Western world or on the guarantees by NATO, but we have to form some kind of joint defense strategy. And this strategy will not only include in terms of defense strategy, it has to be a strategy through the economical pressure as well, through the economy pressure on Israel. And on the other hand, we have seen some very positive, gestures there, that where Iranian president met with Mohammed bin Sultan, King of Saudi Arabia, Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. Then President Tayyip Erdogan had some very significant meetings, including with MBS and others. So it is, and with Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shahbaz Sharif as well. So it is very clear that I think now this is the time for the Arab world and the Muslim world to take a proper action. Yes, there was some more expectation in terms of taking immediate actions against Israel. It is, I think, the Arab world wants to wait and see a few matters. But I believe that the picture is very clear that they cannot depend on American security and defense guarantees anymore. And Arab world needs to be more united, along with non-Arab Muslim countries as well, such as Turkey, Pakistan, Iran, and other countries. So this is a very crucial time to give a kind of a befitting reply to Israel.
Dr. Hamid, do you think that such type of a unity, that was shown by Arab and Islamic leaders, do you think that's going to be enough to deter Israel? Because Donald Trump, when you talk about the attack in Doha, he said that these attacks do not advance Israeli or American goals, but targeting Hamas members was a worthy goal. So do you think that this is going to deter Israel, or we can expect Israeli attacks again as well?
To be honest, definitely it is not going to deter Israel under the Netanyahu's premiership. We have seen the madness of Netanyahu and the way he has attacked over 6 Muslim countries within last 2 months, which includes Yemen and Syria, and then Lebanon, and then Qatar and Iran. So I think the aggression by Israelis can only be stopped by the very very constructive, very strong steps taken by the Arab world. And otherwise, Netanyahu seems to be that because his political situation is very fragile within Israel, and he has so many protests against him in terms of dealing the matter of hostages, in terms of other corruption charges were going on against Netanyahu. So this is the time for the Muslim world to engage Americans, China, Russia, and all other powers of the world, that they need to stop Israel aggression, because without American support, or I would say American, unconditional support, there is no possibility that Israel can carry on their attacks. And that's why when Marco Rubio was in Jerusalem yesterday, the statement in front of Marco Rubio was very, I would say, very highly questionable, that still Israel is determined to attack somewhere else. That will be very catastrophic if Israel carry on their attacks, because there will be no option left for the Muslim world but to retaliate, and retaliate with force, and that will erupt a very large-scale war in the region.
Dr. Hamid, now the Israeli forces have begun their ground offensives as well. Now Gaza City is being targeted as we speak. It's being bombed as well. How are you looking at these latest developments? What can we expect over the next few days?
Very sadly, the Gaza is completely destroyed. Gaza's become a landscape of rumble and nothing else. But still, the genocide by Netanyahu is carried on. The aggression is carried on. The action against Israel, against Palestinians, is carried on. So I believe that this is the time when there is a joint action needs to be taken against Israel. On the other hand, the plans to wipe out Gaza people is very dangerous. That is not acceptable, and I believe that this will cost a lot to Israel and the Western world and to America.
Dr. Hamid Khan Al-Mashriqi, thank you so much for that analysis. It was a pleasure having you on today's episode.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Dr. Mehmet Çelik, thank you so much for being with us in the studios. That brings us to the end of our program. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.